I didn't even have my microphone. My microphone is muted, but let's restart. So the Colts wide receiver room is looking pretty exciting this year. Getting ready to talk about this room is getting me really pumped up. Whoever the quarterback is going to be, they're going to have the pleasure of throwing to 3 to 4 really explosive options. Now, the last time we were able to put wide receiver, and exciting in the same sentence was when we had. You could argue you could go back to the time we had T.Y. Hilton and we just drafted Dante Moncrief. You could say, okay, wide receiver room was looking really excited. But the last time we really had something like that, the potential that was there for Moncrief and T.Y. But Reggie and Marvin were it. They did it. The potential came true. You know what I mean? Like they were actually explosive. The last time we had, it's 10, 15 years since the Colts had incredible wide receiver play all around, all up and down, the depth chart. You look at wide receiver one, wide receiver, all the way down the chart. You're like, yeah, this guy can make a couple big plays. And you could say that, yeah, Peyton Manning, even Andrew Luck definitely elevated some of these guys and made them look better. But we all know Marvin and Reggie were just absolute legends, absolute all-time greats. But now, fast forwarding, you had T.Y. Hilton, and he was awesome in his own right. You could say Andrew Luck elevated him as well, but T.Y. Hilton is damn near a 10,000 yard receiver, a 10,000 yard receiving, 10 throughout his career. So you have that. You have Dante Moncrief, who we had high hopes. You had Philip Dorsett. You had so many guys in between there that you tried to get at least a wide receiver too, at least someone consistent other than T.Y. Hilton, because when you would play the better teams, especially the Bill Belichick led Patriots and Tom Brady led Patriots, they always took away T.Y. Hilton and Andrew Luck always struggled, and that's because he never had another go-to weapon besides the tight ends. Yeah, you had Jack Doyle, Dwayne Allen, Kobe Fleener, couple throwbacks there, but I'm talking mainly receivers, and those tight ends weren't anything that's going to knock your socks off either. But you fast forward to 2025, we're gearing up for this season. Training camp is right around the corner, less than a month away. So from wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 4, there is so much talent there. Michael Pittman Jr. is highly regarded as the number 1 receiver in the Colts room, and for good reason. He has done some really good things, but Michael Pittman has not taken the wide receiver 1 role by the horns. He's been okay. I think he's been inconsistent. No, there's no think. He has been inconsistent as wide receiver 1. There's been many times where he has had the opportunity to step up and he has not been able to. He's kind of had the injury bug. Not really like an intense injury bug like Paris Campbell had, but it's there. He gets injured often, and the back injury throws up a couple red flags for me. Every time you hear back, I don't care how bad or how minor it is. Yeah, world-class doctors, they know what they're talking about, but the media likes to take things and twist things. I don't care how minor a back problem is. Any injury report that has back on it for anyone, it's serious, and you have to take full precautions when dealing with that kind of thing. And Pittman, for having the fractured back and everything last year and the quarterback situation, he did a heck of a job. And maybe Pittman can come back this year fully healthy. Daniel Jones being the starting quarterback, yes. If you don't know, go watch the video. I'm not going to explain it again because I'm beating a dead horse, man. Beating a dead horse. I'm tired of talking about this quarterback room because I know it's going to happen. And if I'm wrong, I'm going to make this bet live, okay? If I am wrong, if Anthony Richardson starts week 1, you see all this hair? I will buzz my hair. I will buzz the hair if Anthony Richardson starts week 1 because I've been so confident. I've been so cocky. So if Anthony Richardson proves me wrong, I'm gonna have to eat my words. But I'm so confident in Daniel Jones winning that quarterback one spot. I think the hair will stay, but we'll see. So that's that. Back to the wide receiver. I'm sorry, I got off topic. Just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Michael Pittman is fun. He's a really good contested catch receiver, good route running. He's a great run blocker. He's a wide receiver you want out there on all three downs. But he just hasn't been able to take over that wide receiver one spot. He hasn't been able to be wide receiver one. So you look at the other guys, below Michael Pittman, because Pittman is highly regarded, like I said, he is highly regarded as wide receiver one. You go and you look at Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, same quarterback situation, mind you, because a lot of people like to point to the quarterback situation when talking about Michael Pittman, but you have to talk, but you also have to, be fair to the rest of these receivers and say, hey, they've had the same exact quarterback situation. So it's unfair to point out for Pittman and not the rest of the guys. Josh Downs is an incredible route runner. The amount of separation that he gets is impressive, to say the least. He has his little signature play. And you know how, those best players in the league, I'm not saying Downs is one of the best receivers in the league, but I'm saying he's pretty damn good and he has a potential to be a top 15 receiver in the league. Top 10. Maybe not top 10. Top 15, maybe he can crack top 15. Maybe. There's just so many good receivers in the league. And being close to top 15 is a damn good, is a pretty freaking good thing because how much talent there is in the NFL at the wide receiver position. And a lot of people are going to bring up, oh, Josh Downs just plays in the slot. I don't care. Amon-Ra St. Brown plays in the slot. Okay, Cooper Kupp plays in the slot a lot. I don't care where a player plays. It doesn't take away from how good they are and how talented they are and how high they can rank on a position ranking group or a list. Josh Downs has the talent to be top 15 or at least get close to it. Like I said, those are some big words in 2025 in the NFL now. But Josh Downs, route running, the hands, he has shorter hands. He may be smaller, but as Kenny Moore calls himself, Josh Downs is like lightning in a bottle. He finds a way to get open on big downs, pun not intended. But like I said, he has that little signature move. He does like a little 7 route or like a little dig or a zig. He cuts in and then he cuts out. It's like a little fake, you know what I mean? It's like a juke, kind of. But he faces his whole body in and then cuts all the way in, all the way back out. And that's just been a staple in his game the first couple of years. And he is so good at it. And when and at the catch point, he just spins. And the player misses every time because I guess they're going for the tag point when the receiver's trying to catch the football. So Josh Downs, hold on. So Josh Downs is I believe our best receiver. Like I said, Pittman's good, but I don't think he is as explosive as Josh Downs. I'm trying to get my camera to stay here. I think it's good now. So that's that with Josh Downs. A.D. Mitchell. No. Alec Pierce. Last year, Alec Pierce had an average yards per reception of 22.3. That was number 1 in the NFL. 5 reception touchdowns. He had 803 receiving yards. No. Hold on. Wrong player. 7 touchdowns. He had 824 receiving yards on only 37 catches and 69 targets. And you could look at half those targets and be like, yeah, there was a lot of them that were sailed too high, too low. Anthony Richardson or Flacco being old and you can't really get it there, or it's overthrown. That's Flacco. and they already did that a lot last year. 37 catches and 824 receiving yards is just absolutely absurd to me. It's a stat that you don't see often. You don't see that. You don't see that. But he is that deep threat kind of a guy. You know, he's like the opposite of Michael Pittman Jr. You know, yeah, he's about he's big too. Don't forget Alec Pierce is big. Don't forget he ran an insane 40 time. It was like I believe it was faster than 4.4. It was like 4.3 something. Like he was fast. And he's 6'4", I believe. Maybe not 6'4", but he is huge. But he is a big receiver. He's not. He's at least 6'1". Let me look it up real quick because it's gonna bother me. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Alec Pierce's height. He's 6'3", 212 pounds. Okay, 6'3". I was one off. I was 1 inch away. 1 inch off. His career, I mean, he's got almost 2,000 receiving yards, 17.6 average yards per reception, 11 touchdowns. And Pierce is just a big play waiting to happen every single down. And that stresses a defense out, especially when you have a guy like Josh Downs doing work in the middle, down below, short work stuff. You got to watch Josh Downs because he's sneaky. He's sneaky good. You got to watch Alec Pierce over the top because he's just absurd. And Michael Pittman is kind of like the jack of all trades. He could do a little bit of everything. So those three guys complement each other so perfectly. And they do such a good job at what they want to do. So it's a really good receiver room. They all complement each other really well. And look, like I said, it's not that I don't think Michael Pittman is bad. I'm going to keep bringing this up because it's very important to talk about in this video. I don't think Pittman's bad. It's just he's not anything special. Like this is like how when you look at some teams in the NFL, you're like say, hey, this team has a couple of really good running backs, but they don't have one superstar running back. That's kind of like the situation with Michael Pittman or with this wide receiver room and Michael Pittman. Pittman is often looked at as the number one wide receiver of the Colts pretty often. A lot of people think, they look at the Colts, you ask them who, the best receiver is or just to name a receiver, they're going to say Pittman. 99.9% of non-Colts fans. And they're going to say he's easily the best. But he's not. He's not. Josh Downs and Alec Pierce are both better than Michael Pittman Jr. They've been more efficient. They've been more explosive. And when given the opportunities, I feel like they have made much more of those opportunities than Pittman has to be a wide receiver one over Pittman. Alec Pierce has taken over games. Pittman has not taken over a game. Alec Pierce has taken over games. I think currently right now, I say Alec Pierce is our best receiver. Josh Downs is number 2. And Michael Pittman Jr. is number 3. Talent-wise. And I think the next guy we're going to talk about here has the potential to be better than Michael Pittman Jr. And that is Adonai Mitchell. He is so flashy, so twitchy. Not really too much I can bring up about him other than the Colts got an absolute steal in A.D. Mitchell in the draft. He fell pretty far. There were character concerns, and the Colts said, okay, we're going to take a shot on you. We're going to take a chance. And last year, 23 receptions, 312 yards, 13.6 yards per reception on 51 targets. It's not a year to look at and be like, wow, he had a good year. Or he had you can't even say that was okay. You look at that and you're like, yeah, that's below average. Well, there's a couple of things working against all of these receivers, not just A.D. Mitchell, but you have the lack of volume in the passing game when Anthony Richardson is there because they want to run the ball so much. Anthony Richardson struggles to read a defense and to pass the ball, so you want to take the ball out of Anthony Richardson's hands throwing-wise as much as you possibly can. And just the fact that you have Jonathan Taylor, you have Anthony Richardson, and now you have Khalil Herbert, DJ Giddens. You have so many options to run the football, and how good the offensive line was, and just the nature of Shane Steichen's play calling. I mean, and then on top of that, you look above AD Mitchell. I just talked about Downs, Pierce, and Pittman. And the Colts don't run four receiver sets. They like to run the football. And they just drafted a tight end from Penn State, Tyler Warren. You know, if you're going to have a fourth receiver out there, you're probably going to have Tyler Warren in the slot. You could swap him out, Tyler Warren, AD Mitchell, or, and that's another thing about all these receivers. Well, I'll talk about that after because I need to finish my thoughts on AD Mitchell before I get into other stuff. AD Mitchell, like I said, he's twitchy. His potential is insane. The moon and the stars are the limit for him. There is no limit for AD Mitchell. His route running is insane. But if he could, focus on catching the football, get better at just catching the football and doing those little things right, oh boy, he's going to be special. So before we move on from these four and we talk about the other ones, these are the main four. These are locks to make the Colts roster. You say Ashton Dulin and Anthony Gold are probably practically locks too. But Ashton Dulin, he's been on the Colts for forever now, quite a long time. He's a good rotational deep threat. Put him in there a couple snaps a game. Let him run it deep and chuck one to him. He'll catch it. Most of the time, he has caught those kind of passes. Those kind of balls. He's done a very good job in that department. A phenomenal special teamer, great gunner. You always see him making plays in special teams. He's got a rotational piece. I mean, Dulin is not a wide receiver 3 caliber, maybe not even wide receiver 4. But by the Colts standards and a lot of team standards, if you're not going to be seeing a lot of time on the turf, well, on offense or defense, then you better be able to you better be able to play special teams. You better be able to bring something to the table in that third phase, which is where sometimes games are won and lost. So it's important to have guys that are capable and competent to play special teams. You see how many kick returns are in the NFL? You see, big time tackles within the 10, 5, 3-yard line to pin teams deep and have them go a long ways at the end of the game. It makes a big difference when you have a good special teams unit, and Dulin brings that to the special teams. Anthony Gold, speedy, but he's another special teams guy, and I like what he has to bring to the table. He's not going to see much field time, like I said, unless there's a couple of injuries, and that's kind of the same thing with AD Mitchell. Unless there's an injury to Downs, Pierce, or Pittman, Mitchell probably is not going to get a lot of playing time. It's just unfortunate. I don't see him, if Pittman wasn't paid all that money, say Pittman was still on his rookie deal, I could see them maybe putting AD Mitchell in there more than Pittman at times. But Mitchell also has to prove it. So I can't say he's better than Pittman yet, but back to Gold, back to Dulin. I think they're similar players. I think Gould is going to be the guy to step up for Dulin when he leaves Indy. I mean, he's getting a little older. He's been at the Colts for a couple of years, so I think Anthony Gould is going to fill in that role. And then, let's pull up my notes here. You have DJ Montgomery, probably not going to make the roster. He's been a practice squad guy, though. He'll probably come back to the practice squad, and he'll fill in emergencies. We saw versus the Steelers. He made a couple big plays versus the Steelers one year. I think that was last year, actually. It might have been. But DJ Montgomery, good practice squad guy, good for emergencies. That's it. Laquan Treadwell. Former first round pick for the Vikings. Couldn't make it work when he had Thielen and Diggs both playing really strong football at that time in Minnesota. Bounced around a little bit with the Colts. Once again, an emergency option. He's probably not going to make the roster. So next we have Blaine Taylor. Probably not going to make the roster. London Parker, not going to make the roster. Tyler Conman and Aju, they won't make the team. There's one guy in this room that I do want to talk about that is a UDFA that I want to highlight and talk about a little bit here. And that is Coleman Owen. Coleman Owen, looking at the way he talks, he's a Colts guy. He's a fun kid with a ton of upside, and he started at Northern Iowa. Transferred to Ohio, so he started out at like Division II, Division III. I don't know what Northern Arizona. My bad. And then he went to Ohio. I might have said that. Northern Iowa, goes to a bigger college, wants more competition, wants a chance to go to do something, and he gets better coaching. And he was sixth in FBS and receiving yards last year. And there's some pretty big names up there, pretty big names who had incredible years that he was behind, and he's an elite company in receiving yards. He had a huge game versus Syracuse. His debut, his first game with Ohio, he wasted no time getting to work and making a name for himself. He's such an underrated signing. And it will be hard for him to make the roster. I think maybe he can make it over Ashton Dulin. The potential is there. I know I said Ashton Dulin is kind of a lock, but if you have a guy that has more potential and more upside, then I think younger, I think you have to go with him, even though he's been in college a couple of extra years or a couple more years than others have been. Coleman Owen is a name to watch out for in training camp. I'm impressed with the way this kid talks, the way he moves, the explosiveness that he brought to Ohio last year. I'm excited for Coleman Owen, and I hope he makes the roster. Hope he makes the 53-man, but I don't think he will. It's crowded. I mean, I think his best shot to make it is to win it over Gould or Dulin, because the top 4 spots are taken. He might have to win it over Dulin and Gould, because Gould might win Dulin's spot, because are the Colts going to really keep more than 5 receivers this year? They may not. Because if you go and you look at the tight end position, you have so many tight ends. You have Drew Ogletree, you have Will Mallory, Jelani Woods is still on the team, Tyler Warren, of course. I mean, all of these guys that I just mentioned could line up in the slot and receivers. So, and the Colts like their tight ends. They love to run the football. They love those extra big bodies out there. So it wouldn't shock me if they keep 5 wide receivers, like 4 tight ends, like 4 running backs. I could see something like that. Because, like I said, the top 4 are in lock. I'd be shocked if A.D. Mitchell was caught. Downs, Pittman, and Pierce, they're not going anywhere. Unless you trade one of them or something crazy happens. So I think the Colts could try and keep him on the practice squad, but I don't think he'll stay there. I think that there are going to be other teams that really want Coleman Owen. There were a couple teams that were interested in him and possibly drafting him in the 7th, late in the 7th. So if you don't keep him, there's a good chance that he goes somewhere else. And sometimes you look at your receiver room and you just can't dispose of anyone else. You can't have him keep a roster spot over anyone else. But we had to see how he does in training camp and all that first. But Coleman Owen is a name to watch out for in training camp. So one last thing I want to talk about before I get out of here about this Colts receiver room is I want to talk about Michael Pittman Jr. and my idea to trade him. I talked about this a little bit before in some other videos. Pittman is, I think now is a good time to get something while you can out of Pittman. He's going to want to be paid soon again. He is already down 2 years of his contract, I believe. So after this year, he's going to want another extension. But I think you pay Alec Pierce, you trade Pittman, and you pay Josh Downs, and you might have to let it ride with AD Mitchell. You can't pay 3 receivers big money. I don't know if Mitchell is going to get to that point where he could be paid big money. He has the talent and the potential to be paid wide receiver one money. Downs and Pierce could be paid around that too. If Pierce has another big year, Pierce could want big money. Downs could want big money in a couple years. And if AD Mitchell breaks out, he's going to want huge money too. So I think you trade Michael Pittman. Yeah, he's just entering his prime as a receiver. Maybe this is the year he finally breaks out not breaks out, I should say. I should say it really takes his game to the next level. Maybe with Daniel Jones being a more experienced quarterback, being a better quarterback, being a guy that has been around the game for a little while. And I just think that Jones is going to do a really good job with this team. And I think he could elevate. Yes, I think Jones can elevate Pittman, Pierce, Downs, Mitchell, or whoever steps in a wide receiver. You trade Pittman. Trade him for a second, a third. I mean, you get something out of him. Maybe you can get maybe you can get another corner, another high upside edge rusher that's young or something. But I think Pittman is going to be a trade candidate next year. I wouldn't even mind if he was traded. I would say pump the brakes. I don't want to make a bad, I think it might be a bad decision to trade him before this season because you really don't know what you have from AD Mitchell yet. And if Downs or Pierce gets hurt, then you only have the other one, and then everyone else is a question mark right now. So yeah, maybe it's good to keep Michael Pittman Jr. one more year and then trade at least one more year and then trade him. Because, if say someone else gets hurt and AD Mitchell gets to step in, okay, now we know AD Mitchell can be solid. So then, hey, you trade Pittman because now you got Downs, Mitchell, and Pierce, and they're all just as good. They're fine. They will hold their own, more than hold their own. And then Doolin, and if Coleman Owen is still on the team, I mean, Gould, you have guys that could step in and be good rotational players. Absolutely. Like I said, it's been quite some time since the Colts had a receiver room like this. Since they've had options, since you could trade one of your better options for other guys with more potential, with a higher ceiling. So, yeah, there's a Colts wide receiver room for you. I appreciate you tuning in to the JDW Sports Network. Another installment of the Horseshoe Hustle. Today we talked about wide receivers, how Pittman is the third most talented receiver in the Colts receiver room. Yeah, it's probably going to piss some people off, but honestly, I think it's the truth. So, that's all I got for me for this live. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. A couple people joining in and out here. Appreciate you guys hopping in, watching a little bit. So that's going to be it for me. I'll see you guys later. It's JW Sports Network. This is Jason. And I will end the live.